Hello, hello. Welcome to this heartfelt and festive episode of our podcast series, Building Bridges, Not Walls. As we are standing at the threshold of a new year, it's the perfect time, it's the perfect moment to reflect, reset, and celebrate the journey that's bringing us here. Today, we are going to talk about a timeless and a transformative topic which applies in everyone actually, and that is going to be gratitude. When we talk about gratitude, or when we are going to talk about gratitude, it's not going to be as just an emotion or just the act of saying verbally thank you to anyone about anything. It's going to be the practice and the lifestyle that can actually reframe our experiences, our lives. It can actually strengthen our connections and relationships, and it can actually inspire us to live more fulfilling more in a more fulfilling way than previously. So I think together we are going to talk about how, looking back at 2024, how it can be more of an appreciation for all the lessons that it brought, exploring the power of gratitude in overcoming all the challenges, and set actually the very meaningful intentions to carry it towards the 2025. So let's not delay and dive into that magical conversation of gratitude with Dr. Bilal and discover how it can actually shape not just the new year, but also every day of our lives. Welcome, Dr. Bilal, to the conversation. Merry
Hi, Isra.
Christmas.
How are
How are
you
you
doing?
doing?
It's the holiday season, and I this is one of my favorite times of the year. Hence the hat.
Pretty much
Um,
visible.
very much visible. Favorite time of the year, usually because lots of realizations, lots of thoughts. Some pleasant, some not.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
again, it's. I love this time of year mostly because a lot of things come to mind, at least for me, which
Hmm.
um, I just can't, I don't have any words for it. It's magical
Yeah,
to me. I mean, beyond just the idea of togetherness and family and whatnot, that's usually at this time of year.
yeah, yeah.
It's super important as well, I think, to kind of bring it forward in a mental health light, as well as just something a little less heavy. I mean, I know that
Hmm.
this conversation that we always have, our goal has always been to make sure that we talk about something meaningful. I figured, you know what, at this time, just between us at least, we can, make it a little lighter, a little easier, and just, kind of wind down in preparation for the coming year.
Yeah. Well, December or this time of the year, as you said, always very pleasant, but I'll also say not always, because sometimes it's that time of the year where people actually think about the things they have lost or they are missing right now. So it can be a mixture or combination of a lot of feelings. Well, majority of the time the smiles, I think they superpower or they overpower the whole situation. But that's why, let's talk about gratitude or the power of gratitude. Let's talk about how impacting impact of gratitude, practicing gratitude in your life, how it can actually change your chemistry in your mind, or how it can actually change the living perspective towards the whole life. What
Okay.
is your opinion or gratitude practice?
So the thing is, I mean, beyond a chemical level, if we want to get into the neurobiological parts of it, something called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adjust and change itself according to um, experiences, thoughts, and beliefs. So it's actually been proven that people who choose to adopt a more negative or I don't want to use the word pessimistic. We'll go with negative. A negative outlook generally will deepen the neurotransmitters in their mind, which will encourage negative thinking.
Hmm.
The opposite is also equally true. So
Hmm. Hmm.
it's not just something our parents used to say that, if you keep thinking bad things will happen. There is some science behind that.
Absolutely,
Right.
yes.
Oh, no, there
Hmm.
absolutely is. I
Hmm.
mean, and the thing is that I often encourage a lot of my clients and also anyone in my life. I encourage them to think about, look, bad things will happen irrespective. It's up to you how you choose to interpret the situation. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that toxic positivity is a real thing and that's something we should all avoid, but there's no harm in trying to just, diminish it a little bit and work with what you have rather than what
Hmm.
you want, right? I
Ah,
mean,
yeah.
not every situation is going to be great, but
Hmm.
that's okay. Work
Hmm.
with it rather than against it. It'll save you a lot of stress in the long run,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I think this idea of the law of attraction, I think I'll put it that way, the law of attraction absolutely works. And personally have experienced and have seen people experience that whenever you are going to manifest,
mm,
whatever you manifest is going to happen one way or the other, because universe is also making ways according to how your manifestation or how your dreams are. So I would say,
mm,
yeah, good manifestation, positive energy is something that, shit's gonna happen. If shit's gonna happen, what can we do about it? So all we can do is how to deal with your current situation that you're
mm,
facing in life.
mm,
So while we are talking about practicing gratitude, it's like in the mixture of, at the end of the year, it's reflecting back to the previous year and welcoming the new year, or having, new year's resolution or the plans or dreams or minor goals in 2025, let's say. So when I talk about reflecting on the previous year, here it's 2024, how can we reflect on our past in a very positive way?
Okay, so inevitably we're going to sit down and we're going to look back on the year, and there's going to be a lot of I could have done this, I should have done this, I would have done this. Could have, should have, would have. Now, could have, should have, would have are three words which I disallow my clients to bring into their vocabulary, mostly because they're all entrenched in the past, right? It's more important to focus on what you're able to do rather than what you could have, should have, or would have done, because we're unable to change those. They're in the past. So when it comes to reflection, I'm a big fan of saying that, look, talk about what you learned. Don't tell me what you missed out or why it happened. Just tell me what you learned. And the thing is that there's no, if you take even just one situation in your life, there's a million different ways to interpret it.
Yeah.
I will often encourage myself and my clients and my friends and whoever is in my life. I will always encourage them to try and take the one which offers the greatest learning potential. Because at day's end, you can. I mean, let's be honest. If anyone's had any breakups this year, your takeaway could be, oh, well, they were a complete douchebag, or
Yeah.
it could be that things weren't right for both of us. Both of them are a potential outcome, admittedly, but the first one, unfortunately, I think is a little bit more closed off in terms of what the learning potential is, whereas the second one obviously offers a more open-ended approach. Open-ended approaches are always preferable, but I would say that occasionally it's fine if you choose to take something a little more closed-ended, if only for the closure component. Because
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to sort of go through a moment where they kind of lecture themselves and turn into their parents, where every moment is just a lecture, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to say that, okay, this happened, I learned my lesson, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So just learn with what you can is what I'm saying.
I think, yeah, when you talk about reflection, it's not just talking about reflection, it can be a lot challenging as well, because it's going to force you or make you talk about or think about the things that you would rather forget rather than have it on the table and think about it, that, as you said, could have and should have. So I guess if it's all about the perspective, how you are taking it.
Mm,
If you are taking it as the pessimistic approach, it could be a whole lot of different situation for you ahead. But if you are taking it the lessons, how resilient you were, how much growth there is, and if, yeah, like you talked about relationship or breakup and everything, I think it also clarifies what you don't want in life.
mm,
So
mm,
it's all about taking the perspective of having a reflection towards the past experience or the past year, and how it can be better and not repeat the same things again, or maybe you repeat it, you will learn again. But yeah, when we talk about reflection, I will also say that another perspective that I would apply it in my year would be the positive things that I got out of this year, which I think people usually take it for granted when they are
mm,
not actually earning it and they are just being provided or blessed with. So
mm,
there are certain things which I would be super grateful for, specifically the friends or the people
mm,
they become the part of your life who actually support you, either being just emotionally being present or physically being present or in any way possible. So I think there are so many ways of reflecting toward your previous year and getting some very good lesson or motivation actually
mm,
to move forward. So
mm,
yeah, how does it work that you do it in a very healthy way, acknowledging that these are the mistakes that you did make? Could have, should have is another opinion or is another
mm,
chapter, but you did make it. So you got
mm,
to acknowledge it, that
mm,
yes, I did it, and you have to own your mistake, because only after owning it you can
mm,
move forward with a different approach towards life. So
mm,
how can we make sure that it's all healthy and it's all the, as you said, not the toxic positive, the right amount of positivity in your life, and
Mhm.
you move forward with a very good approach and enter into a new year.
So something which I think is often overlooked or even just outright ignored is that the end of the year does bring a lot of joy in anticipation for the new year, but there's certainly an element of bittersweetness, almost grief, I would say as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
the thing is that, you're letting one thing go and you're starting something new.
Hmm.
Inevitably, there's always this feeling of I could have done better. I should have. It does creep in.
Yeah.
So the thing is that part of making sure that you have the appropriate amount of growth is also recognizing that there's an appropriate amount of sadness that comes with that growth, because you cannot be that person you were before anymore, right? And while many people would say that, oh, that's not a bad thing, you have so much you can grow for, but there is an element of yourself as well that you leave behind. So, for example, last year, I got a new academic qualification, my master's in psychiatry. So, and when I finished that, part of me was exceptionally proud, but part of me was also a little sort of let down, thinking, "Oh no, what do I do now?"
Oh my
Now
God,
that
I can relate to it.
now I've done this, I can't go back anymore. I can't really sort of, I don't know who I am now. So where do I sit? Do I start a PhD now? What do I do? So there is that sense of confusion that comes with a lot of learning as well.
Yeah.
So I very strongly encourage anyone who's listening and otherwise as well, that please also reflect on the things you've had to let go to
Oh,
honor that growth,
yeah.
right? Because growth is not easy. It's never easy,
Yeah, it can't be.
and you always let something go, or have to change something in order for it to benefit you. And it's perfectly all right to recognize that you have to let go. So
Yeah.
and do that by all. I mean, you don't have to be toxically happy about everything, right? I'm sure you have experiences like that of your
I'm
own as
sure.
well.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So,
A lot of those.
oh, okay, fair enough. So yeah, it's there's so much that you can take away, but a big part of it is recognizing what you've had to let go, is what I would say. That would help guide you as to which lessons were bigger and more important than others.
um, I think majority of the time people, if the word gratitude is simply just an adjective for someone, a lot of people, and I used to be at that point a few years ago, more than a couple of years ago, but anyway, until I realized that gratitude is actually lifestyle choice
Mm,
rather than just being grateful for something that you have. And once I started actually reading about it, how does actually gratitude works when you apply it as your daily part of your life, and I
mm,
started realizing that there are so many practices, small practices, that you can make a part of your daily life, that doesn't cost you money, that doesn't cost you anything. Rather, at the end, you get a very refreshing perspective to live. So what are some of the gratitude practices in your opinion that anyone can adopt?
okay. So one which I hear a lot, I'm not personally the biggest fan of it, but a lot of people tell me that one form of practicing gratitude is to be forgiving. um, which is
Okay.
something I have a few issues with,
Me
mostly
too.
because I mean, for me again, it's forgiveness is about changed behavior, but a lot of people tell me, oh no, forgiveness is about letting things go so it doesn't hurt you.
I would agree that it's more about letting things go
It is,
rather
but
than.
the thing is that for me, if I'm choosing to forgive someone, it's usually in the context of did you learn, from what you did wrong, and have you made the efforts to change your behavior? Because my saying I let it go doesn't actually change anything for you, because and the thing is that if I choose to let it go, I have to be comfortable with the idea that you will not do it again. But if you never learned from it, then essentially I'm just setting myself up to be hurt one more time,
Yeah.
right? Now, admittedly, yes, I am overcomplicating this when it's actually a very simple concept. And yes, I do agree in concept that letting things go is good for you. It's I believe it's a Chinese proverb that keeping a grudge is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will die.
Yeah.
So I like that. But the thing is that this is not a grudge. It's simply that if I don't choose to forgive you, that means either you have not done enough for me to trust you again. That
Hmm.
doesn't affect my life in the least. It
True.
just means I don't
True.
trust you, right? But I mean, notwithstanding that, practices of gratitude, I think, are they start with yourself. They don't really start with anyone else.
Yeah, I hope so.
Um, and the thing is that one thing that I practice is usually to reflect on. Okay, so you know what? Did you help someone today? Did you do something good for someone else today? Objectively, not subject. Objectively,
Hmm.
did
Hmm.
you help someone?
Hmm.
Yes. Okay, good. So that means today you did at least one good thing. And
Hmm.
it doesn't mean I don't mean work. I don't mean that. I mean even if it's something as simple, something I did a lot in Dubai when I was living there. Whenever I would get delivery or takeout, I would make sure that I would give my delivery boy either a small bottle of juice or some water or something in
It's the
addition to
act of
whatever.
kindness.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if I would call that kindness. In my head, I rationalize it as active gratitude, because passive gratitude is, thank you
Yeah,
universe,
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you
yeah,
God,
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
This
yeah.
would be that, look, I'm privileged enough to be able to do this. This
Hmm.
gentleman is doing as part of his job.
Hmm.
I don't owe him anything, but I would like for him to be able to be grateful for the fact that someone took their time out to think of him,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I used to do when I was in Dubai. Over here, obviously, I get my own stuff. I don't order
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was one thing. The other,
Hmm.
who have you helped? The other was just to, I think a big part is just to reflect on myself and think about, okay, so what can I do better? Just for me, just for me. And that means something as simple as you could go to bed earlier. You could maybe not open that bag of chips. You could maybe next time you're caught in traffic and someone cuts you off, don't start swearing like a crazy. So little things like these, because again they add up over time, and that's how habits happen, right? And
Yeah,
before you know it, next thing you have road rage,
yeah,
or
yeah.
next thing you know, every Friday is snack
Anger
night.
issues.
So because again, as much as I would like to say that do good things for other people, I'm a much bigger fan of saying do good things for yourself, so that other people can take from it without you realizing, right? Because the best example of, I think, gratitude is a person's own demeanor. I think that's the best way to go about it, right? But then again, that's just how I go about it. I don't know. Do you have a different way of doing it? Like how do you do
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I would actually like to add into this what you said, partly that, but there was a time in my life where I actually hit rock bottom in all the ways possible. Like, be it talking about your personal relationship or your student or professional life or your financial situation. So I have seen that rock bottom, and there was a time when I actually started about the lifestyle of gratitude, and I started practicing a few things in my life, and they had a drastic change, positive change in my everyday life, that I actually could see how manifesting good things can actually make you feel better. So started with that, instead of focusing of what I am lacking right now,
Mm,
what I
mm,
do not have or what I lost. I started actually writing it down in a journal on daily basis. I started with two things that I do have and many people do not. And I started realizing that these two things I actually didn't earn. I did not pray for. Like, for example, if you have a roof over your head and you do not realize there are so many people out there who do not have this basic necessity. So you got to be thankful for that, because you are not, yes, you are working, yes, you are very hardly earning all of your money, but at the same time you are not experiencing the lack of basic necessity. So I started writing down the stuff, and those stuff actually increased by every passing day. From two to it
mm,
became three to four to five, and then there were countless things that I had to be grateful for. So it made me feel better rather than continuously being a victimized person towards the negative side of life. Then the other thing I actually opted, and I could never, and now I can't let it go, is that expressing the gratitude. Like you said, it was a very good term of active gratitude and the passive gratitude. So I
mm,
think when you apply the active gratitude in your life, it can actually not just make your day, it can make many people's day. So like you said, it's the active gratitude. If someone just gave me a compliment, I would feel better, I think my whole day would be made. That in the morning
Mm,
someone said your smile is good or you look good,
mm,
you're looking good right now. So it would be a compliment that would make my day. So I started applying it on others as well. If I see someone is having a great hair day, I compliment them. If
mm,
someone does a good thing for me, I actively say thank you, I verbally say thank you. So it's something you are acknowledging their effort, and it's making them feel good as well. So it's like a symbiotic relationship between
mm.
everyone around you. While someone is doing good to you, you reciprocate and do it to someone else, because one day or the other, it's always going to come back to you. So it's more of the manifesting the good energy. And then, yeah, um, every time I would be sitting alone, rather than having all the thoughts in my mind, which would actually make me feel that this I do not, I haven't received, or I do not, it doesn't belong to me. I would have the goals of moving towards getting it. Whether it could be anything. It can be money. It can be a piece of cake that I want, I can't afford right now. So it can be anything. I have done that. So these are some of the practices that I made my part of life, that actually made me, I think it made me a better person. So yeah, gratitude practices, I think everyone has a different one. I was reading it somewhere, a gratitude jar,
Mm,
that if
mm.
every day you write down one thing that you were grateful for, it could be as simple as someone passed a smile to me, and at the end of the year I can reopen and I can actually feel better about my life. So a lot of practices out there.
So it's funny you mentioned that actually. One of my clients, a younger client, she's in her 20s, and anxiety, etc. And eventually we got her to a point where when we were talking that we both agreed that, okay, try a gratitude jar. And it did wonders for her because the thing is, occasionally when she would feel low, she would just look at it, and because it was filling up over time,
Mm,
eventually she realized that, oh, I have so many wonderful friends and they've said so many kind things, and I've done this and I've said this, and it goes a long way. Sometimes we need a reminder. We
yes, of course.
absolutely do need reminders, and people aren't really the best reminders. I'm more of a big fan of, having small physical reminders. It's the gratitude jar is great. I mean, I remember someone who I used to know. She actually would recommend that you make small origami stars and put them in a jar, and each one was something you were grateful for. So if you would open it up, there would be something you were
Yeah, yeah.
grateful for. So that was, that there are so many practices. But at day's end, the act of gratitude itself, I think, is probably the most powerful thing you can do. You mentioned manifestation, and yes, I think gratitude goes a long way into making sure good things happen. No matter what your, spiritual or religious inclination, whatever cosmic forces are out there, they will always work in your favor. Because it's all. I think the phrase, "What the universe conspires in your favor." I think that's the phrase.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
And
Paulo
and this
Coelho.
phrase is not only in the form of, it's even religiously applicable
Yeah,
as well.
it is.
It's even
Yeah.
religiously applicable. Yes.
It is. So I don't know if this was Paulo Coelho or someone, but essentially, it's always conspiring in your favor. And if you, again, if you want to be wealthy, you will be challenged with poverty. If you want to be brave, you will be challenged with fear. They're all opportunities. And the thing is that I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, I wish I had less problems. To which I've said that, well, the only people who don't have problems are dead. So bit of a
Oh,
morbid
true.
thought, but the idea is that even your problems are an opportunity for your betterment. They might be inconvenient. Do not mistake the inconvenience for the actual, the learning value.
Yeah.
Inconvenience, certainly, but all of them, are one step closer to something that serves you better than before. So, I would never ever be inconsiderate enough to say that, oh, you should be grateful for all your problems. No, I think that's a little inconsiderate. But all of them offer some opportunity to learn from it, and eventually, once you're past it, look back and say, hindsight is 2020. That, yeah, that was a good thing. So, I'm a big. I like to think that way, at least. I don't know if this is right for everyone, but I certainly do. So.
As you said, you don't know if it's right for everyone. I think if whoever is watching us, there might be a question about some reality checks here.
Oh yeah.
So talked
Oh
about
yeah.
a lot of gratitude. So I think let's be
Delulu is
honest.
real. Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, let's get real a little. That practicing the gratitude as a lifestyle and reflecting on the past, like we are discussing, it can't be that easy always, because sometimes life's extremely messy. It's so unpredictable, uncertain, and at times it can actually get unbearably hard. Like you wouldn't even want to be grateful for anything. So there are moments where it becomes absolutely impossible to
Mm,
find a single thing to be grateful for. So just wanted to mention here that especially or those points where we are facing the setbacks in our lives,
mm,
where we took a risk and it didn't
mm,
turn out to be exactly what we were hoping for, or we had a loss of a person or a something or a job or anything. So any kind of uncertainty. So that's okay, even if you feel that way. But
mm,
here comes the actual beauty about those difficult moments, that gratitude does not have to be huge. Gratitude
mm,
does not have to be perfect or
mm,
grand in that sense. It
mm,
it doesn't mean that you have to be thankful for all the pain that you're given. It's just about finding those small moments, those small glimmers along with all the darkness around that. Okay, so if I talk about my thing, when I would face it, I would actually look around, that I have been blessed with those friends, I have been blessed with those people who would actually be there to support me. So this is
mm,
something to be grateful for, that I don't feel alone. If I want to be vulnerable, if I want to discuss something, I do have a person to go to.
mm,
Then I would also feel that before this happened, before this darkness was there, I didn't know that I had this much strength into me. I didn't know that I could deal with all of that.
oh yeah.
Or simply, I would be grateful, okay, today ended and I have made to another day. And it's
Mm,
very clear that every passing day that comes can actually reduce the pain a little for whatever
mm,
you are going through.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, I wanted to have this reality check, that, for example, if you are struggling and you feel that being grateful or reflecting on your past in a positive way, it's not an option for you. Just focus on very small things,
mm,
whether it's a sunrise you are experiencing, you're a sunset, or a stranger
mm.
giving you a compliment, or you reciprocating it the same way. If you have a person who can listen to you, be present, all of these very small, not perfect, just present blessings that you
Mm.
must have around you. So yeah, if we give a reality check, there are always small steps that you can take.
So one thing I just like to add on to this for anyone who's read it, Haruki Murakami, he's my favorite author. One of
Okay.
his it was in one of his books where he says that what was it? Pain is inevitable, but
Of
suffering is
course.
optional. You know,
Hmm.
and the thing,
Hmm.
and when it took me a few years actually to understand that, because I was of the belief that they're the same. No, pain is external to your choice. Suffering is where you choose to dwell on that pain. Now the thing
Hmm.
is that for a lot of us, I certainly didn't know that until I read it, that dwelling on pain can actually prolong it and make it worse.
Yeah.
For example, there was a time where I was out of a job for about 6 months, and
Hmm.
every day for me, I was dwelling on it. You don't have a job. You don't have a job. You don't have a job, and it made the
Hmm.
experience agonizing for me. Eventually, until near the end, around the fifth month, I think I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing myself any favors. Whatever will
Hmm.
happen will happen. In the meantime,
Hmm.
I'll just do my best. And it made the experience a lot less unbearable. It was still
Hmm.
unbearable, but a
Hmm.
lot less so. I think a lot of us don't realize, not just recognize, but don't realize that dwelling on it, constantly talking about it, can actually make it worse. Yes, it's true that sharing your pain can make it easier, but if you choose to dwell on it for too long and constantly go back to it again and again and again, it actually makes it worse,
Hmm.
significantly worse. It makes the
Because I
burden
think it's
huge.
also a form of manifestation. No, you just keep talking about the negative thing that have happened.
Yes, I suppose, yes, you could very easily put it that way, that the more you talk about how, oh, this is so painful, this is so painful, and yeah, it just becomes more and more real. You're absolutely, actually, that's a very astute observation. I hadn't made that connection. Good on you. Good on you. So yeah, it's deep. The basically the point that I wanted to make was that it's it's a very deep conversation. It's a very deep thought, but essentially, yes, the idea is balance. right? We will never encourage, we will never ever actively encourage anyone to go into toxic positivity, because I find that to be more damaging than anything else.
I think I've reached to that point where I started realizing that it's getting toxic. The positivity is getting toxic, and I need to shout about it for a while.
It's true. I mean, but again, it's toxic because you deny the other person's reality by saying, "Oh, it's not that bad." Yes, yes, it is that bad.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
What's wrong
Yeah,
with calling
yeah,
a spade,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And again, many people often struggle to real. They're like, "No, I'm just trying to be optimistic." No, no.
Yeah, I was actually reading. I won't discuss the whole thing. I was reading a post somewhere where women was talking about a very huge problem in her life, and she was seeking for support. And so another woman comes and completely dismissing her problem right there and
Mm,
telling her that you are being so ungrateful that you have this in your life and you're just focusing on that. Although the thing that she was talking about, it's one of the primary
mm,
need of hers. It's one of the primary thing that she actually everyone would need in her life. So
mm.
I want to change that narrative as well, that you why do you have to dismiss someone else's pain when you can't feel the empathy or sympathy or anything for that matter? Just stay quiet. You don't have to put in your opinion everywhere. If someone is struggling with something, let them struggle. If you can't put in a positive feedback, if you can't enter positively, don't enter at all.
Um, so in these kind of situations, this is very common on social media,
Yeah.
where everyone, because there's anonymity, so there's already a protection of accountability. One, two, because it's a public posting, everyone feels obliged to try and force. Well, force is the wrong word. To project, yeah, that's the word. To project their own interpretation onto others.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is that, like you very correctly pointed out, empathy is the ability to, you know, feel another person's pain by walking in their shoes as best you can. Sympathy comes from pity, right? And that's the thing a lot of people, at least again in the South Asian context, they don't really seem to understand the difference. At
Oh,
least they,
South
in
Asia
my
got to learn
opinion,
a
they don't.
lot.
They don't. So the thing is, this woman saying that, oh, you should be grateful for this, that, this, that. Unfortunately, my internal bias is already sort of pointing towards the direction of the fact that they were steering this into a religious direction.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my personal bias is already saying that, oh, God has given me
Yeah,
this much, and yeah, because
absolutely.
so the thing is that, I mean, look, it's I can appreciate people who have that strong belief in the divinity. Fine, good for them. But again, respect another person's ability to just vent. Just respect it. Just
No,
because you
I don't even think that religion allows you to be that way. Religion allows you to be human. You can't just remove the human part, human element of you. You have to let yourself be human and you have to let everyone around you to be human. So it's just the exploitation of the religion part, not the actual religion part.
see
It's more
that's
of exploitation.
and that's kind of the problem, because at day's end, if you try challenging someone like this, it turns into a flame war, or worse, it turns into troll bait.
Blasphemy. It can
Yeah,
turn into
oh, I'm
blasphemy.
sorry. Yes, of course, it turns into that. So it's a no-go area generally. So again, to each their own. To each to respect whatever their belief systems are. I steer far away from these conversations because I don't know enough about. I'm not a religious scholar, so I don't know enough anyway. I will stick to what I know, which is the science.
Well,
Um,
I read it somewhere and I have a total belief in it that if your religion is telling you to be unkind, you got to change your religion.
oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
whether you are religious or not, anyone, it's a common sense thing. You don't dismiss anyone's pain, you don't dismiss anyone's feelings or emotions. You either just sit there and listen, or you get out. You don't get involved in everything. You don't have the place for that.
But
So,
I mean, you would probably know this far better than I do. Everyone loves being an armchair therapist online. Everyone loves being just an armchair diagnostician, a cardiologist, a banker, whatever profession you get. Everyone loves being one of those online. You know,
yeah.
and because again, anonymity protects a lot of these people. I mean, and unfortunately, I think that's kind of why online, portals of this nature, they're just cesspools. They're just absolute rubbish, as far as I'm concerned, at least. I'm sure there are some meaningful groups and pages and whatnot. I no, none. I have not encountered any of them, unfortunately. But I don't behoove anyone who has found a supportive community otherwise. If they have, more power to them. You know.
I think the support, when you talk about an online support, I think it's more of useful thing when they're only dealing with a certain one situation. Because I have seen groups and I became a part of them. For example, a group is just talking about how to get out of a narcissistic relationship, be it anyone. So
Mm-hmm,
there I have seen that it is more of a support, a general platform where everyone is everyone. So
mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm,
have the
mm-hmm.
certification to be anyone and everyone. I find it a little misguided rather than being helpful. So yeah, I have seen people, they know how, they should know how to and when to shut up. People don't shut up at the right time.
Well, no, they won't because again, I mean, to put it again, South Asian context, and this is something that I've observed. Culturally speaking, victims here are celebrated. They're celebrated. You
Oh yeah,
love putting victims on a pedestal, and when you
there is the
have
example.
I mean, you don't really need an example because anytime some kind of tragedy happens, it's always about the tragedy. It's never about the solution.
Oh
You
my
know, this
god,
poor
yes.
woman was raped. I mean, let's be honest. It's in our newspapers and whatnot.
Yeah.
A rape headline is just another Tuesday.
Oh
So,
my
this
god.
poor woman was raped, and it's always just harping on again and again and again and again, and no one's actually focusing on how to pull her out of it, right? And the thing is that I sit there and I'm just looking at it and I'm just kind of like, okay, so we know this has happened. How are we empowering this woman? How are we supporting her? Are we
Yeah.
finding her perpetrator? Are we punishing them? Are we making an example? What are you doing? No, that just and then it just disappears into the background and then
I will actually say the same thing for I think 80 to 90% of the women in South Asian lands or Pakistan.
yeah,
If they have lived the most horrible married life, at the end of the time it would be celebrated that
yeah,
she made this compromise and see the marriage is still running.
there you go.
So
There you go.
it's yeah, you are glorifying the victimization, you are glorifying the wrong parts. There is nothing empowering about that, there is nothing to be celebrated for, to be very honest. But
Yeah.
this is what I have seen all my life. You're right, you're celebrating the victim, the victim itself.
And what, because we're talking about gratitude, there, I mean, this obviously was not what I envisaged, but now that it's out there, you can also be grateful about categorically the wrong things. You can be also
Yeah,
be grateful for
yeah.
absolutely the wrong things, and you raised a very valid point. A lot of times, such women will be told that you should be grateful that you eat, that he feeds you, or that he pays for your clothes or whatnot. And
Yeah,
my reaction is usually, why should I be grateful for my abuser
yeah,
enabling the abuse by
yeah,
keeping me around? How
yeah.
is that something to be grateful for?
But I think when the person is in it, they don't understand, because when you're talking about relationship or marriage, okay, he raised or she raised, I won't gender identify
Mm,
it, but majority of the time it happens in Pakistan. If a guy has raised his hands over a woman, the next day he has taken her out for a wonderful dinner or
yeah.
bought her a Rolex, so she should be grateful for it.
So this was an example that I used a very long time ago when I was abroad. When a woman comes, when she goes home and she has a black eye, the next day she gets a Cartier sort of bracelet. If she ends up in the hospital with a broken rib, she gets a new car. If she, sort of disappears for 3 weeks and then, nobody knows what's happened, she gets a vacation in Cancun for a month. You
Oh,
see,
that's
this attempt
pathetic.
to buy them off,
Yeah, yeah.
right? To sort of, and the narrative of abusers is, why would you make me do that? You know how much, you know what happens when you do things, or you know what happens. I love you so much. They will try and diminish it, and then buy you off, and buy the victim off, rather, I should say. But the thing is that enables a form of Stockholm syndrome where you buy into it. See, at least he loves me. Look, he got me this or that, or gave me this, or you know, um, and
Since
that's not.
I read about the Stockholm syndrome, I can actually see that in people now. Like
Oh
whenever
yeah,
they're talking about, it's very clear
Yeah.
that they don't even know what they're talking about.
The thing is that if you bought into the delusion, you lose. I think you lose your ability to challenge it,
Hmm.
right? Because you're part of the problem now. You're not
Yeah.
part of the solution. You're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's a self-sustaining problem. If one side of it just says no more, the problem typically ends. Typically,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? But if you buy into it, then it just continues in perpetuity.
Hmm.
So, which is why I think it's super duper important to also recognize that while you might not be grateful for the right things, you should not try and encourage anyone, I think, not just yourself, anyone to be grateful for the
For
wrong
the
things
wrong
either,
things. Very valid. Very
right?
valid. Yeah.
Because it's like you said earlier, it's
Hmm.
not all about the delulu.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
recognize the limits that exist between both
Hmm.
of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I would say that it's important to call a spade a spade,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
for
True.
better or
True.
worse, either way, because
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
accept it, you can move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, something to think about, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Um, I won't exclude this particular part that there is always a role of people around you, how you take perspective, how do you have a new perspective towards life. I think having a good community around you, specifically, I'll talk about living in this country. It's not easy finding good people around you. And I think I have been blessed enough, Alhamdulillah. And if you are blessed enough to have even one or two people around you, they who are in your life without any intention, a solid intention, other than being
good friends.
good friends. Yes, thank you. So I wouldn't want to exclude this when we are talking about gratitude. How
Mm.
do you think that having the right people impact your life, and if you are still not taking it as a blessing, you got to start doing it. So what are the those strategies, what are those practicing gratitude that you can start feeling around when you don't know how many people do you have that you can actually call it good friends, or if you do have, how do you practice gratitude in that way?
So the thing is, unfortunately, with the way life is in 2024, moving on to 25, people have less intimate relationships, friendships rather, not relationships, less
Hmm.
intimate friendships than we've ever had. You know, we
Hmm.
talked about this in an earlier talk together. So that's something that's really rough right now. Like for a lot of people, if they have one or two good, like even friends, I would think people would just be, oh my god, thank goodness I just have some friends. Good friends, I think, is something that has to be tested because again, anyone can be with you when things are easy. It's the people who are with you when you literally have nothing to give them, and they still choose to be with you, right? And by that I mean, you know, if this one friend of yours is unemployed, right? You don't stop hanging out with him, you don't, or her. You don't stop talking to them. You don't stop visiting them. If you go out together, you make sure you cover the bill before it even is brought to their attention, because you know that's the kind of friendship you have, right? Or however you're happy.
I think that's friendship. The other thing, having a good time, you can literally have with anyone. A
Absolutely,
stranger, I have done it with a
absolutely.
stranger, I have had a good time with a stranger.
It's easier to have fun with someone you don't know. I think, and the thing is, obviously, because there's no expectations, but with your friends, they understand the nuances of who you are, the vulnerabilities of who you are. And the thing is that that in itself is also something I think is a good thing to recognize, that someone knows you well enough to understand your finer personality traits. But when it comes to gratitude, I think it's important to recognize that every relationship has an expiry date. First of all,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just something to keep in your mind that
Yeah.
not every, I mean, whether it's because you drifted apart or, you know, God forbid, someone
Hmm.
died, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
True.
always an expiry date.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's important to make the most of the time that you have. I can look back on lots of people who were in my life, and I, I am tremendously grateful that they were in my life, even though I don't want them back. I absolutely do not want them back in my life because who I am is incompatible with the role they played that time. But that relationship did enrich my life at that time. It's the same right now as well. The people that are in your life who will support you, and I think something that often goes understated, who will challenge you for your benefit. Those are the people who you should genuinely be thankful for. Anyone can have a good time with you, But the one who can actually sit there and tell you, no, you're wrong, and I will fight you on this, right? They are the people who you should be truly grateful for, and vice versa, obviously, because
That's very true. Yes.
they've taken it on themselves to be one step above for your betterment. Obviously, with their viewpoint. I mean, no one's saying their viewpoint necessarily might be correct, but
Yeah.
again, how you navigate it together, and having that kind of confidence in the relationship, because not every friendship can withstand conflict. Some friends are just friends for the sake of a good time,
Yes.
and if there's any conflict, it just falls apart, right? So if when it comes to being grateful for friends, unfortunately, I think that one is so subjective. There's no way I can touch that topic with any kind of clarity, because everyone's relationships are different. I mean, at this point in time, I think a lot of people are just grateful for their situationships as well, right? Even though we objectively know those are unhealthy,
Yeah.
but
Makes
again,
sense.
you can still be grateful for things which are long term unhealthy, but short term maybe ground you, maybe anchor you as well. Because gratitude doesn't necessitate that it has to be exclusively healthy.
Yeah.
Exclusively,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can be a little unhealthy, a little bit. So that's okay too. But I would say that again, having people around you to share good and bad times, that in itself merits recognizing it as, you know, you're blessed for the time.
Yes. Oh, considering the time that we are living in, yes, it absolutely is. And when it comes to friendship, I have experienced literally all kinds of friendships. I have seen the best people. I have met the best people. I have seen that I just, as you said, that they were good at that time of the time, but I have grown out of that time, so we have grew apart.
Hmm.
Nothing against them still, but
Hmm.
they are very very solid part of my life and have contributed to where I am today. I've
Hmm.
also experienced the friends who would actually use your vulnerability against you when it
Yep.
comes to that. So I
Hmm.
also learned. So there are, 2024 was full of lessons. So yeah, but still grateful for it that it
Hmm.
all of it happened,
Hmm.
still making everything that is happening is making you the person that I think you are supposed to become, or you are destined to become, or you're trying to become, one way or the
Hmm.
other, whatever your beliefs are.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
So new year coming,
Hmm.
new year's resolutions, what are your resolutions? Let's start with you.
Okay, so funnily enough, I've gone through so many unresolved resolutions that my resolution is to not make resolutions.
Oh, thank you
So
so much.
So no, I kind of stopped doing that many years ago, mostly because it's a bit of a fallacy for me. Because why
Okay.
should I have to wait for New Year's to happen before I decide to change myself or improve something or add something? I don't need some arbitrary date to do that. I can literally do that whenever I want,
So
right?
no you, no new year, no new me for you.
Not, I don't want to call them resolutions as much
Mm.
as they are more just I would say that they're secondary objectives, I should say.
Okay, okay.
Side quests. Let's just call them side quests. So, one of the things that I think for this year that I would really like to do is to maybe kind of grow my professional skills a little bit, whether that's a PhD or certifications, or maybe even apply for a foreign program or something. I don't know. That's one thing, but that's always been there. Because in my head you can never learn too little or too much. So there's that. Beyond that, I am very open-ended when it comes to this stuff. I would like to see what is what challenges I'm going to face, because 2024 was oof. Yeah, I think
Oh my god,
24
same.
was yeah, 24 was just oof. With everything that was happening. Especially, I mean, considering we're still kind of coming out of COVID, even now, we're still kind of always hearing about some new variant, or this has happened, or that, or some realization, or the vaccine was actually rigged, or whatever it is. The state of everything with the Ukraine and whatnot. It's a mess. I mean, one thing, however, I think is a resolution for me is to definitely try and travel more, because that is something I have not done for many years now, and I'm starting to kind of feel it. I need to travel again. Something of a personal passion that way. So I would say, yeah, academics, studies, work. The relationship frontier is a big question mark. I think that's a
Mm,
question mark for everyone. It's a very big question mark for everyone, but fine. Open to new things, open to new experiences, I think is the best way I can describe it. For
mm,
better, not for worse, for better.
mm.
So you tell me, what about you? Are anything for
Uh,
you?
a lot of things for me. I think that is coming out of as the reflection of 2024, and I would say the same thing. I do not have adjective to put a label on 2024 because 2024 was, let's make it positive. It was the year of so many lessons, so
Oh
so
yeah, that's,
much growth.
you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
absolutely right.
So whether it's about losing or gaining your personal relationships, or it is about your professional life, or
Mm,
it is about your friendships and where do you stand with people, or
mm,
is it about learning a new skill, or
mm,
is it about the actual, I won't exclude it, the actual war that had an impact on mind, waking up daily and seeing what's happening and how nobody is doing anything to
mm,
stop it, to the point where well, yeah, I have learned in every way, but there are certain things that I have learned that was pretty new for me in 2024. I always knew about a few of the qualities that did. I have it regarding patience or resilience and whatnot. But 2024 taught me that I can also be fearless. So it doesn't matter what life throws at me or what life throws at anyone, as
mm,
long as you do not fear the uncertain things and just
mm,
move forward with what you have right now at this moment. Life can turn out, all the setbacks or all the wrong things at that moment can turn out to be pretty great. You just have to give it time and a little bit of effort. So
absolutely.
yeah, considering that, a few of the, I'll say the same thing, it's not the resolution, it's few of the minor goals for 2025.
Mm,
Yes, I have to start being more assertive. I still don't know how to say perfectly no, so I got to learn how to say no at the right time to the right person or the wrong person.
mm-hmm,
Yes, I do have a few travel plans for 2025, and I hope I execute them.
mm,
Managing the work life and private life together.
mm.
I do want to become more badass of a woman, if that can make sense.
That's
So
always a plus. That's
so
always
yeah,
a plus.
I want to become more badass, and I do want to excel. That's one of the very primary and long term goal. I do want to excel in my career. So yeah, a few of the, that I think one, all of those have been, I am taking it from 2025 2024 to 2025, still unresolved, but still I think these are one of the things that I'm certainly very much excitedly looking forward to in 2025.
That sounds wonderful, actually. I'm glad. You seem to be a lot more invested in the new year than I am.
Oh, New Year's and dates, they make me excited. So pretty much it,
Fair enough.
yes.
Fair enough. No, it's just again because a lot of times I hear people's resolutions and my reaction is often, why wait? That's literally,
Yeah,
it's just that. Why wait?
yeah,
Why do you have to
yeah.
wait till the 31st or the first or whatever, birthdays even? I wait until my birthday to do this. No, I mean, these are just arbitrary. If you're really
Mm,
invested, do it
mm,
tomorrow. Start from
mm,
tomorrow or day
mm,
after, whatever, but make it sooner rather than later because,
mm.
later never really shows up,
Yeah, it never
right?
does. Yeah.
But no, for 2025, I think all of us are ready for just a little bit of a reprieve from 2024. It's been a
Mm,
very
mm,
challenging year, I think is the word
mm.
I would use. It's been
I
tremendously
think majority
challenging.
for majority of the people it was
Oh no,
very
absolutely.
challenging.
I don't
Yeah,
think I've met a
yeah.
single person who could
Mm,
describe 24 as anything other than extremely challenging. So
mm,
I think if 25 can be more about the rewards rather than the
mm,
challenges,
mm, mm.
I think the world at large can just take a nice
Yeah,
deep breath and just
that's
kind
my
of say,
request to the universe.
"Oh no, I think you're not the only one. I
Looking
think
forward to the fruits and rewards more in 2025.
absolutely just being able to sit back and breathe a little bit
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
without the challenges."
yeah.
But yeah, in regards to anything else, though, I think one of the things I would be very grateful for is your assistance in making this podcast a reality.
Yeah, how can I get that out of it?
So
Yes,
no,
it's
it's
one of the
important.
things I certainly look forward to every week.
It's important because we've talked about personal relationships, we've talked about family, friends, etc. I think one of the things we often underestimate is the gratitude towards good coworkers, right? To our peers,
Oh, oh yes. Well,
right?
I think I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but I will take that moment because there are certain co-workers that I absolutely love. They back in Pakistan, they know who you are.
Mm.
So it's not easy having a good work environment.
Yeah,
It
no.
can get so toxic. So if
Mm,
you do have good co-workers to
mm,
hang out with, to work with, they can actually make you a better person professionally and
mm,
personally,
mm,
both
mm,
of the
mm,
things.
mm, mm.
Oh, be grateful for. So I'm grateful for them. I still miss them.
Oh no, absolutely. It's again, it's one of those things which is often overlooked.
Yeah, yeah.
Good coworkers can make even the worst workplace, feel great,
Hmm,
and
yeah,
bad
yeah.
coworkers can make the best working space feel like absolute hell.
Hmm.
So
I'll
yeah.
add one more thing to it because won't go into detail, but yes, if you are waking up in the morning and you are feeling bad about starting the day going to some place, it's not the place for you, and it is okay to change that. It can
Oh yeah, absolutely.
always be changed.
Again, in the spirit of gratitude, be grateful, feeling grateful that you have the
Yeah.
ability to change it, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
If you have that privilege, go use it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good note on which we can kind of rein it in. If you have the power, the privilege, or the opportunity, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do
Yeah.
it. Nothing really
And
more to it.
any last thing that you would like to add before we wrap up 2024?
Not really. Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and be good, be safe, and be good to people and be good to yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much. I think coming to the end, bidding farewell to this episode, bidding farewell to 2024, I think I would leave and wrap up this episode with the thought that gratitude itself is not just about appreciating the good moments that you have, it's about actually finding the beauty in everything you encounter in life, even it comes with the challenges. Because from having a smallest step or having a smallest thing in your life, it can be a new chance. It can be a new chance to grow, it can be a new chance to love, it can be a new chance to make a difference in your life, in anyone else's life. So although I don't want to sound like a toxic positive person right here, because things do suck sometimes and they do suck really bad, but the beautiful thing about being human is that whatever happens, whatever rock bottom you hit, there is always that willpower that can actually make you get back up and start fresh, and it can always lead you to the journey that you are supposed to be in. So I think I will also challenge my own self to break more stereotypes in 2025, step out of my comfort zone, and become a better version of myself, whether it's professionally or personally. Life's too short to be anything but grateful for all the blessings that we are getting, even the challenges, because at the end of the day, they do come with a silver lining, they do come with a new lesson, with a new growth. So I think I want to be more intentional in terms of action, in terms of kindness, in terms of manifesting good energy, in terms of radiating good energy. So I think that would be the perception that I will apply, which I would also want to make a ripple effect with that perception towards life. So I think let's carry that energy forward. Here's to 2025, filled, I hope it's filled with purpose, it's filled with a lot of growth, and it's filled with a lot of rewards and a lot of gratitude. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Let's make it a very rememberable one. Goodbye everyone.